Back with another video for y'all. Multiple sports topics video. Basically, NFL talk, Ravens talk, Browns talk, Shador talk. That's all the topics we try and touch down today. We try and touch on the Ravens, and we try and touch on the Browns, try and touch on, Shador, and because I got to be honest, I got to call a spade a spade, you know. I've been clamoring for Shador to get on the field. I also have been banging on Dylan Gabriel, not banging on him, just calling spade a spade when it comes down to him and his game as quarterback. So now, when it's the opportunity for the guy who I wanted to play and he got on the field, now it's time for me to be an honest critic of what I've seen. I ain't with the sugarcoating. I ain't with the glazing. I ain't with the faking. I'm going to just tell y'all exactly what it is. You know what I mean? That's what SK Sports Talk is all about. That's what SK Sports Talk is all about. Being honest. That's the problem with so many people. They just can't be honest. Can't be honest with themselves. How do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? You're not even honest with yourself. You gotta be real with yourself. All right. SK Sports Talk. It's Sunday. We just got done watching football. So let's talk about them Ravens. Let's start off with the Ravens. First of all, salute to the Ravens, you know what I mean, for getting the W. Ravens, they got the W in a wacky situation, a wacky game, to where they could have easily lost the game. Could have easily lost the game. You know, with the miscues that was happening with that game, and the miscues, they go like Ashante Wester dropping a punt return ball. He muffs the punt return, and he gives the ball to the Browns right there on a goal to go. You know, that was a muff right there. You know, that hurt us. That hurt us. You know, Ashante Wester, that's his second fumble of the year. So you definitely gotta be watching Ashante with him and no punt returns, because he already had 2 fumbles on the year, and the fumble today was crucial. You know, that really could have hurt us. You know what I mean? That fumble put the team in a hole. So luckily that the defense was able to hold, and then the Browns only got 3 points out of that. But that's still a major turnover in situations, because we were supposed to have the ball, getting ready to go down, try to score. But instead of that, you lost that possession in a game that didn't have a lot of possessions. Each possession was going to be critical. So you lost that possession, and then the other team has that possession. Luckily, the defense was able, to hold them to just a field goal. This is when Dylan Gabriel was still the quarterback in the first half. So that was a major miscue on a part of the Ravens. Another miscue on the part of the Ravens is Lamar Jackson just missing throws. It happens a lot. Thankfully, only thing about Lamar is that when he chooses to miss a throw, he usually misses some type of throw on an out route. You know what I mean? So when he's missing out of bounds. He's missing low, which that's some pretty good stuff right there. That when he missed, he made sure that his misses don't necessarily lead to interceptions. You know, so Lamar definitely be somewhat inconsistent with his accuracy. His accuracy can be inconsistent. What is not inconsistent about Lamar is his decision making. He got some pretty good decision making skills. He don't necessarily be just putting the ball, into harm's way all the time. I like sometimes where he just takes a sack. He just goes down. He just takes a sack. And sometimes, taking a sack, that can be, very, good for your team because other situations, when you don't take a sack and then you throw an interception. So those, so when the miscues was happening with Lamar, he was missing throws in the first half. They were low, they were wide, they were, so then the offense wasn't getting going. So that was another miscue was Lamar. Another miscue is obviously people jumping off sides. You know what I mean? It's punt time. The Browns are about to punt the ball to the Ravens, and then the Ravens are about to get the ball back, and then we have somebody jump off sides. So that keeps the Browns on the field. And then the next play, the Browns, just do a big play right after that miscue. And the Browns do a big play. So that cost the Ravens some points. So you know what I mean? So those were some of the miscues. The defense had some miscues. You know what I mean? As far as they were just getting ran on, in the first half. You know, Baltimore run defense definitely still needs some work for sure. They were just getting ran on. I don't know if you want to call that a miscue or if you want to just say that the Ravens got a bad run D. I don't know, man. Whatever you want to say. Miscue, not miscue. That was a part of the reasons why the Ravens wasn't necessarily clicking in the first half of that game. But when it's all said and done, the Ravens found a way to get the W. And that's what's important. That's what's important, is that they got the W. Don't matter how it gets done, by hook or by crook. Either way, either way, the Ravens, they got it done. They got the W. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Especially when you're going up against a divisional foe, where anything can happen. It just, you see how the first half went down. You know, the Ravens was dropping fumbled kick returns, jumping off sides. Defense was getting ran on. So basically, anything can happen. That's why I always say gamble advisory and stray away. Stray away. If not, just stay away from gambling if you can. If you can find some other type way, some type hobby, what I mean, to get you through football season, maybe just do fantasy and stuff like that. Because you just never know what's going to happen on the football field. You just can't predict it. It's just too unpredictable. Somebody might get hurt. Somebody might fumble the ball. You just don't know. That's why gambling is a very tricky thing. And I was always get my advisory out to you people on YouTube. Just be careful what you're doing, man. Understand what you're doing. So the Ravens, they got the W. Let's go, Ravens Nation. We back. We back in this thing. Now the Ravens are 5-5. 5 wins, 5 losses on the season through 10 games, and there's 7 games left in the year. So we're going to see how things going to shake out for these past 7 games. Just for the Ravens to be 5-5, that's some pretty good stuff for real. Based off the fact that they were just 1-5, and pretty much everybody thought that they were just done on the year. Everybody thought they were done, but a lot of people look like 1-5. Like, what are we talking about? Like, why are we even talking about this team? So now the Ravens are 5-5. And realistically, they are very much alive in the AFC playoff race situation. Even if they don't get the division, which I'm pretty sure they will get the division, the wild card is still in play. I think they're going to get the division. I'm sorry, I'm not a big believer in what they got going on up Pittsburgh. They definitely doing it by hook or by crook up there as well. Patching together wins. They definitely patched together a win today. Who them Steelers play again today? Excuse me, I cannot recall all the events. The Steelers played the Bengals. Yeah, they beat the Bengals bad. But it was still about hook or about crook, I would say, just for the simple fact that the starting quarterback got hurt and they had to bring in the backup quarterback to finish the game. So that's obviously tricky when you're talking about the backup coming into the game and y'all still was able to win. So, yeah. Aaron Rodgers, he's starting to get hurt. Yeah. It's only a matter of time. Only matter of time for, is brittle bones. You start getting hurt, getting banged up, getting roughed up. You know what I mean? He's only 41 years old, but we talking about NFL lifetime. We talking about getting hit and hit for all these years. So, he's going to be fragile. Aaron Rodgers is going to be fragile, very fragile, very fragile. Almost like, it's a house of cards. What's like a Botanic Man? Just, it's like a house of cards, just fragile. You just pluck that deck, whole house gonna fall down. So that's what I see with the situation with the Steelers. They're just a house of cards. It's only a matter of time where you probably gonna pluck the cards, and then it's all gonna come crumbling down because Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt. I don't wish nobody to get hurt, but I'm just saying that that's what's most likely going to happen when you're playing football and you're at an older age like him. So I don't got no faith in the Steelers. They're not going to be able to hold on to that lead they got in the North. So that's good for the Ravens. We're going to walk the Steelers down, going to walk the division down, and then that's what it's going to be. We're going to get a home game for, the first round. And then that'll probably be wild card weekend. They're gonna have to get it, you know what I mean? The Ravens gonna have to get it the hard way this year in the playoffs if they want to get to where they going at. Ain't gonna be no first round bye. Ain't gonna be, home field advantage throughout. They're gonna have to get it out in the mud this year in the playoffs. Cool. We're going to end up taking the division and getting one home game. Cool. One home game. Cool. And then after that, we're going to have to go on the road twice. And then make it to the Super Bowl. So it's not that hard. It's not that hard of a tough of a situation for the Ravens to handle. They just gotta just go out there and just take care of business, for these next 7 games to make sure that they can lock this division up. Once they get the division, then that's when, maybe on the last game of the season, maybe the Ravens can rest some of their starters. We looking at the playoffs. That's what this whole year was about for the Ravens. It's Super Bowl bust every year for the Ravens. That's all it's about. That's all it's about is Super Bowl or bust. So, anything less of going to the Super Bowl will be a failure season for the Ravens. Anything less than that, cool. You make it to the AFC Championship, cool. That's not enough, though. It's not enough. You don't play the game to come in second place. That's not why you play the game. You don't play the game for that. You don't play the game to come in third place, fourth place. You don't play the game to say, "Oh yeah, man, I played a good game. I played good." Yeah, you get about tired of that shit. A couple of years, yeah, man. I didn't win, but played good. I went through the motions, and I'm just right there. That's only going to cut it for so long. So it's coming down to the Ravens. Nobody is trying to keep hearing about how you guys won a game or two in the playoffs. We're looking for Super Bowl rings. At the very least, just give us an appearance. If Lamar can at least give us an appearance in a Super Bowl, you're going to go down as a legend. Just make it to the Super Bowl. So it's really all up to Lamar. He's looking for a new contract. They got a lot of decision making to do after the season as far as giving Lamar a new contract. So Lamar is really playing for another contract if he wants some more money. Maybe he don't. Maybe he don't. Maybe he full. Maybe his belly full. If his belly full and the money tip, all right, cool. Now you playing to win. So either way you look at it, I don't know what motivates you more is when you're hungry and you need the money, or when you got the money and now you're just doing it just for the name on your back. I don't know what situation makes you more hungrier. Probably you're probably more hungrier when you're trying to go for that contract. But still, man, you still gotta have pride in what you're doing, man. So Lamar, we support you. You told us that you're gonna bring us a championship, so we keeping you on your word as a man of your word. It's a team game, but the quarterback is the most important person on the team. So yes, we looking at Lamar. Of course, we looking at everybody else too. We looking at everybody. We looking at the coach. We looking at the head coach, the defensive coach, the coordinators. We looking at the general manager. But we really looking at Lamar, to see, if he can get done for us as Ravens fans. You know what I mean? So, yeah, overall, happy, man. Ravens victory. Oh, yeah, man. Shit make you happy when the Ravens win, man. I'm starting to get sad during that first half. Oh, my God. Fucking, ugh. Punt get muffed. First half, they wasn't necessarily just beating the brakes off them in the first half. I thought the Ravens were going to beat the brakes off of them. Put the beat downs on them. But that's why I didn't bet on the game. Because if I was supposed to bet on the game, I was going to bet for the Ravens to cover the 7.5 points. That was going to be my, I'm playing around with DraftKings before the game. I was playing around. Let me look at these parlays and see how much it would pay out. The first bet to all my parlays, in my mind that I was going to play out, I did not do any gambling on the Ravens. But I'm just talking to y'all. It's SK Sports Talk. I'm just talking to y'all. all my parlays that I was playing with, I had the Ravens as the first part of the parlay. It was covering the 7.5 points. All those parlays would have been gone. All of them would have been gone. You know what I mean? So that's why sometimes you don't bet. And that's why today I declined to bet on the Ravens. But I'm more than happy. So yeah, of course, the Ravens, they took care of their business. They made me happy. So good job, Ravens. Good job, man. Good job. You got the win, even without Marlon Humphrey on the field. Good job. Now let's look forward before we cap the Ravens talk. Let's look forward. Ravens schedule. Let's look forward to the next game. Okay. So the Ravens' next game is against the Jets. That should be a win too, right there. You know what I mean? That should be a win too. What can we say, man? Everything's lined up. Everything is lined up for the Ravens to go on this run right here. Ain't that something? Even with starting the year off 1-5, they still got a shot, to get back to the, playoffs. So shout out to the Ravens. Shout out to the defense for playing better in the second half. One more thing about the Ravens game. Something was a little bit weird about some of the defensive play calling. I don't know what was going on, but soon as the Browns changed their quarterback up, they went to their backup quarterback. Soon as the Browns put in their backup quarterback, you just seen like the Ravens start doing like some crazy blitz package. I mean, they started blitzing. They started sending Kyle Hamilton out of nowhere on some crazy blitz. Where is that the rest of the game? It just seemed to me like I don't know what was going on with the protection from Cleveland side, or was Baltimore just starting to send the blitz a lot more? And I just think that it was a combination of both. Well, soon as the Browns put in their backup quarterback, man, Baltimore started gunning. It was like a pack of wild wolves just smelling blood. They smelled blood, So I just wish they could smell blood all the time. But shout out to the D. Y'all did y'all thing. It was a win. Nobody was like special. Nobody was like special because you didn't need to be special. Lamar was good but inconsistent, but nobody was like really stand out special, today on the Ravens side. It was just, whole hum victory. Shout out to Mark Andrews, for becoming all-time Ravens reception leader. Salute to his grind. He stayed down, with the Ravens since Jump Street. He looks like he's going to be in the Ring of Honor type of player. So, let's get a ring. Let's get a ring for Andrews. Let's do it for Andrews. Like, these Ravens, y'all gotta get a ring, man. If you guys can get a ring, a lot of y'all can be legends. I mean, like Hall of Famers, like always good. If y'all can get a ring, man, cause I see some of the people like once they get a Super Bowl ring, next thing you know, like they always working. They always working, you know, they stay working. You get a Super Bowl ring, you stay working, they're gonna want to talk to you because they gotta decipher between the other players and they're gonna want to talk to the people that won. So come on, Baltimore. Let's get it done. All right. So that's the Ravens. That's the Ravens side of things. Now, on the Cleveland Browns side of things, we gotta talk about what's going on because it's a story. A story about Shador Sanders and the story about Dylan Gabriel. You know, you know the background to the story. If you don't know the background of the story, you know, Shador Sanders, you know, son of Deion Sanders, Hall of Fame player, you know, went late in the draft when he was projected to go earlier in the draft, and the Browns got him later. And the Browns drafted another quarterback before him, and that quarterback has been ahead of, you know, Shador Sanders, fan favorite player. So that's what's been going on. Shador has been behind, you know, the other quarterback that they drafted in front of him. And everybody been, you know, clamoring and, you know, just anticipating about the guy Shador Sanders playing, including me. You know, fan favorite. You know, he's a fan favorite. You know, we watched him since Jackson State. We watched him at Colorado. So we all been really wanting, you know, to see him play, to see what he got. The other quarterback they drafted in front of him, he hasn't been playing so good. Dylan Gabriel. So that's just been giving everybody this ammunition to, you know, to say about, oh, yeah, play Shador. And everybody, you know, they've been real critical of Dylan Gabriel's game, the quarterback that they drafted ahead of Shador. Very critical every week. You know, they're analyzing every throw that, you know, I mean, Gabriel makes. And, you know, they're being very harsh with the criticism, including me. You know, I've been making little YouTube shorts, you know what I mean? Every time he makes a mistake, you know what I mean? I'm editing it out, you know what I mean? Blasting it on YouTube, you know, just out of frustration that, you know, that the Browns aren't playing Shador, you know, fan favorite, including mine. So now, this week, Shador finally gets in the game, the backup quarterback. They put him in the game at the halftime of the Ravens game, which I will say is a bad spot to start. They put him in there against the Ravens defense. That's messed up, man. That's kind of a trick bag type situation. You know what I mean? Why did they put him in there halftime against the Ravens defense when the Ravens was coming out fighting for their life for their season? It was a bad spot. I definitely think it was a bad spot, especially the Browns haven't even been giving him first team reps. They haven't even been giving Shador no first team reps. Now, this is idiotic. Idiotic. that you wouldn't give him first team reps, but then now you have to go to him like, hello, that's the reason why you give your backup first team reps, because he just won the play from being your starter. So like, you don't even have your starter prepared. Now that's a fact that they don't give him first team reps. But you know what? All that first team rep stuff, you know what I mean? That's a little BS. It's a little bit of BS involved in all that stuff, first team reps. Because when you're a baller, when you're a shot caller, no, none of that don't even matter. You're just gonna come out in the game, you're just gonna ball. It don't matter, all this rep stuff, you know what I mean? That's very detail oriented. There is stuff to it. But overall, when you got a generational talent, don't matter where you put them at. You know what I mean? You got Lamar Jackson. Put him in anywhere. It don't matter. It's not gonna matter if he had first team reps or no first team reps. The boy he's gonna ball. You know. So say that to people, you know what I mean, defending Shador, you know what I mean. It don't necessarily, all that big of a deal. If you're a baller, you're gonna ball. All right. Now, I'm gonna give y'all my grade on Shador's performance. Now, if I had to grade his performance, I would give him a D. A solid D. He played pretty bad. He played pretty bad. Uh, he was taking some sacks, taking a lot of sacks. I don't know what good I could say besides that he did make some throws. Not many throws. It was only a couple of throws. He had a couple of drop balls. But no, towards the end of the game, he made a throw or two. But he was getting sacked a lot. He was getting sacked a lot. He wasn't really getting helped. He wasn't really put, in good situations. You know what I mean? It's not all bad. He did look competent. He does have a higher ceiling than Gabriel. He looks like he has the framework, to become a good quarterback. You can lose as a rookie, and people can find a way to live with that if, you're showing some flashes, things of that nature, a la Peyton Manning. He was bad all his first year, but, they was seeing some flashes. So that's what Shador had to do. He had to show him some flashes. And I felt like, he did show some flashes. He did complete some balls down the field. He was throwing down the field with accuracy. He is known to be an accurate quarterback, and he seems to be pretty accurate. But his problem is that he holds on to the ball and he takes too many sacks. So, do I think that same way? Do I feel the same way that I felt coming into this game about the Browns need to play Shador and all this other stuff? Yeah, I still feel the same way. Now, we seen Shador out there, so now we got our expectations, straight with him in a way. Um, as far as him right now, what do we expect? And we just expect him to be on that learning curve, and then it's going to take him a while. Like nobody is, nobody's going to cry. Nobody's going to jump off the cliff or the road cliff, or the bridge. If Shador is not a good player, if he's not a good player, it is what it is. We're gonna call a spade a spade. That's all people like me just want out of other people who talk about sports. Just call a spade a spade. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Nobody's gonna hate and nothing like that. You just call a spade a spade. Now, if you not calling a spade, if you're like, oh no, Dylan Gabriel, he's playing so good, he just needs time, this, that, and that. You're not calling a spade. And then if you're not looking at Shador from like a quarterback guru perspective, and then you're not mentioning that he has ceiling, he has upswing. If you're not saying that, he played bad, because he did play bad, then you're not calling a spade a spade. So that's all it is, man. It ain't nothing else to it. You just analyze the game as a football player. It ain't personal. It ain't. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Shador Sanders, Baltimore Ravens, they don't pay any of my bills. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be able to sleep peacefully, win or loss, every night, regardless. This is something that I do for fun, entertaining sports. It is not that serious. If Shador turns out not to be, who he thinks he is and who a lot of people think he is, then okay. Only thing people were saying is that they just want to see what he got. They want to see what he got. And to me, he showed some flashes. He showed some flashes. They put him up against a tough situation with the Baltimore Ravens. And just being interjected into the game in the second half. Against the Baltimore Ravens defense. So he wasn't not even able to find his pocket, find his bag. They didn't have a game plan for him, nothing like that. It's only right that the Browns give Shador the ball next week. Now, let's see who the Browns schedule. Let's see who the Browns are playing. They're playing the Raiders. Oh yeah. Definitely. That's a winnable game for the Browns and Shador. So definitely, I think Shador earned the shot to start next week against the Browns. And basically he didn't live up to expectations. Coming out of this first half of football that he played, his first game, he didn't necessarily live up to the expectations. I would grade him a D because he took a lot of sacks and he wasn't able really to move the ball, properly. Like he was in such a crazy, tough situation, where, it would make it tough for him. with that tough situation. But I'm definitely not out, at all. He needs to develop. Cleveland is where quarterbacks go to die. So he's in a tough situation. Dylan Gabriel was in a tough situation. Everybody felt bad for him. We still feel bad for him. Only thing we saying, we just want to see what Shador has. You know what I mean? So I gave Shador a D for the grade. But I do think that he has some potential and he possibly can develop into a starter. So I give him a D. That's an honest assessment. I mean, too many D's, and you're out of there. You know what I mean? That's just how it go. You know what I mean? Of course, we're not saying he's gonna be straight out of there. You have to have time to develop. A lot of these quarterbacks, they need time to develop. They just ain't right as a rookie. So you know what I mean? That's what it is, SK Sports Talk. I had to come and tell y'all exactly what it is with Shador. I wasn't gonna, hide under the Shador situations. We come out playing bad. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? So we'll see next week. It's a lot more other stuff that happened this week with the sports and the NFL, and this, that, and the third. Lot more went on. But tonight, we're just gonna leave it right there. All right? All right, y'all. SK Sports Talk. Make sure y'all got y'all notifications turned on. Cause we go live. We normally go live sometime around from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. It's usually about the time period where we go live. I like to go live when I do my videos. It's just basically I'm just recording long form content through the live stream. That's all it is. Long form content through the live stream. And if you know about YouTube, then you know the benefits of doing long form content. If you know, you know. All right, y'all. Ravens Nations, let's go. We back in the hunt. Let's go. I'm out. Be back with y'all. I'll probably be going live. I'll probably be doing some type of video, look nightly. Look nightly. Be on the lookout from about 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. That's my window.